Can you beat the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim in survival mode without using magic, potions, or magical equipment? I didn't want to muddy the waters here about whether potions were magic or not. In my opinion they are, and so for this challenge they won't be allowed. So that pretty much explains all the rules for the challenge, but let's talk about the biggest problem, especially with survival mode. See, in standard Skyrim, your character will automatically recover health over time, whereas in survival mode this is not the case. So effectively this challenge is also, can you beat Skyrim without healing? Actually, this is something I'm going to have to address before we get into the run. See, in survival mode your character will be affected by temperature. As you move into colder climates, your health will start to decrease, meaning effectively you've already got a decreased base health pool even before you start fighting. Also, leveling up in Skyrim survival mode can only be done via sleeping, so this is my primary plan for recovering health. And while the effects of fatigue are effectively negligible, as it will only decrease your magic meter, which I will not be using, it will eventually make your vision blurry, which might affect the quality of the video. I'm honestly not too concerned with hunger, as unlike my last Skyrim challenge, I can actually buy food this time. And while there is no fast travel in survival mode, I will be able to use the carriages to get me around Skyrim. So I decided upon a wood elf as my race, which was actually the first race I used to play Skyrim. This is because my plan to complete this challenge involves being a stealthy archer and keeping away from enemies as much as possible. The way I see it, if you can't get hit, you won't be killed. So the first challenge was the get your head removed from your body speed run, which I ultimately failed. I'm not going to beat myself up too much about it though, this guy's had a lot more practice than I have. Also, it feels like every time I do try and practice this, a dragon shows up and interrupts everything. So you guys know how the tutorial goes. Get chased by pissed off dragon. Kill some Stormcloaks or Imperials depending on your political affiliation. Shoot some spiders and run to freedom. So survival mode starts the second you leave the tutorial and immediately the amount you can carry is diminished. I chose the Thief's Stone to advance quicker in sneaking and archery. Sold all my junk in Riverwood, bought a lot of food, and robbed Hadvar's uncle of all his worldly possessions. I don't care if you've got a family to support, the Dragonborn needs it more. Jarl Balgruuf commended me for being quite possibly the greatest person to have ever existed, for reporting sightings of a dragon that his own guardsman had already seen. Also, in my few encounters with Balgruuf, he kept giving me magical items as rewards for completing quests. I think under normal circumstances, this would be a person's introduction to enchanting. You would basically just disenchant whatever he gives you. This, however, would break one of the tenets of this challenge, and therefore I can only sell the items that he gives me. But without the required gold, I was forced to run all the way to Bleak Barrow. My current accuracy with a bow was so terrible that I considered joining the stormtroopers from Star Wars. You know, those guys in the white armor that couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. As I grew closer to the Barrow, the air was becoming all the more frigid. Furthermore, combat was becoming a little too close quarters for my liking. By the time I finally entered the Barrow, I was immediately killed by the first two bandits, and then again, and then again, and again. Eventually I was able to get off the sneak shots that I needed to take down both of the bandits, and I was finally able to get some rest and level up. Since I'm going for a stealth build, I decided to take the first point of stealth, giving me a 20% bonus to sneaking. I was able to take down the giant frost spider simply by shooting arrows and keeping away from it, and I had to kill Arvil the Swift before he started running through the Barrow, as this will awake the Droga. Now I do have to admit that sneaking is a lot better in Skyrim. This is because taking sneak shots at your enemies, especially from close up, will dramatically increase the amount of experience you get towards sneaking. The biggest problem I had was that once I was discovered, they would cut me down fairly quickly as I would have no means of healing. The only logical thing to do seemed to be to run to the start of Bleak Barrow and sleep in the bed and level up and get my health back. Because I was still a low level, I was gaining levels quickly, and I took the backstab perk, which will give you a 6 times damage bonus if sneaking in melee combat. I also took the first armsman perk for extra damage with one-handed weapons. This would be a rinse and repeat process for the rest of the Barrow, returning to the start after every fight to sleep and even level up a few times. Eventually, after making it through the Barrow, I was able to solve the Dora the Explorer puzzle and make it through to the main chamber. The Droga Overlord wasn't too much trouble thanks to the overpoweredness of the backstab perk. Then, after stopping off in Riverwood to sell some supplies, I headed back to Dragon's Reach. No fast travelling, so it took a little bit of time. Balgroof gave me more magical items I can't use, and sent me onward to kill a dragon. And whilst I was probably still unable to take down a dragon on my own, this first dragon fight went really well, and it was a good sign of things to come. On my way back to Whiterun, the Greybeards shouted me, telling me to come in from playing outside as my dinner was ready. For the younger viewers, playing outside is something kids used to do before the invention of computer games. But before High Hrothgar, I decided there was something excessively important that I needed to do first. My first stop was Riften to see a smithing trainer named Balamond. See, there's a trick you can do in Skyrim whereby you can pay for training and then immediately pickpocket the money back. I hope you can see where I'm going with this. So I spent the next several hours doing this over and over again. Why did it take so long? Well, sometimes you're not always successful with your pickpocketing, but there are things you can do to make it faster. Spending perk points from the pickpocket tree greatly improved my chances of being able to steal the gold back and made things so much easier. And because I was raising both my smithing and my pickpocket skill, I was leveling up very, very quickly. Now, there is a lot more to this that involved me joining the Thieves Guild in order to sell stolen items, because the prices of smithing training do go up. But all you need to know is that I finished up at level 23 with a 70 smithing skill. I could have gone further, but I didn't feel like I needed to right now. Then it was simply a matter of jumping back into the carriage and heading back to Whiterun, where I kitted myself out with some new armour and weapons. The reason I didn't make any elven gear is that at the minute I didn't have the required resources to do it, but I did have enough gold to buy a horse. Then it was just a case of climbing the 7,000 steps. I did rush past most enemies, although I did try to take down the frost troll. But after getting my ass perfectly handed to me, I decided to run past the troll as well and head up to High Hrothgar. The Greybeards gave me a quick spelling lesson, and then I parkoured my way down the mountain. So if I was going to get the Horn of Jurgen Windcaller, I would need to be well supplied, and also I needed to recover some health, so I returned to Whiterun, where I was attacked by cultists. Now, since the only way I can really heal in this challenge is to sleep in a bed, I went to the local inn. Then I took a carriage to Marthal, as it's the closest settlement to my objective. So the thing about survival mode is, while you are using a carriage, it will take actual game time, and your character will still be affected by the constraints of survival mode, such as feeling cold and hunger. So I would have to go to one of the local inns in Marthal and recover. Now, since I wasn't able to use restoration magic, my plan for Ustengrav was basically to remain undetected and stealthily take down enemies. It was at this point that I realised I still had a perk to spend, so I took the Deadly Aim perk, which gives sneak attacks with bows 3 times more damage. And I was pretty much able to successfully remain undetected right through the rest of the dungeon, and eventually reach the final room where the Horn of Jurgen Windcaller should have been. But oh no, we've been duped. It seems that someone's already taken the horn and they've left us a note, so it's back to Riverwood. Well, on a challenge like this, that's not as simple as it sounds. You see, I had to go north to Solitude to catch a carriage to Whiterun. By the time I got to Whiterun, I decided I might as well resupply, and I also made a glass bow. So there's a wood elf in Riverwood who's an absolute snake, and basically the story is he likes a girl and he wants to stop another guy from getting said girl, so he enlists you to kind of break them up. Now, if you do this, he will be a companion for you, and he will also give you archery training. So I used this to gain a few levels in archery, and I'm also probably going to do this for the rest of the run. See, when he's your companion, you can actually take the money back off him that you gave him for training without pickpocketing. I don't condone what he did or what he got us to do, but we need a high archery skill if we're going to beat Alduin. Let's remember, I won't be able to actually heal during the Alduin fights. So it turns out the note given to us was by a member of the Blades called Delphine, and she has a plan to kill another dragon at a place called Kynesgrove. I hop on a wagon all the way to Windhelm and head south to Kynesgrove, where we fight our next dragon. So because it was snowing, the air was pretty cold, and therefore I had less health to work with, but my proficiency with a bow really got me through this here. I also think that the dragon was primarily attacking Delphine, which is why this fight was so easy. So, crazy plan by Delphine. Step 1, kill a dragon. Step 2, break into the Thalmor embassy. Now, my plan for the Thalmor embassy was basically the same as Ustengrav, just remain undetected, take out enemies before they have a chance to fight back, as there is no way I'm going to be able to sleep while at the embassy, and therefore I can't heal at all. Since I had an extra perk point to spend, I decided to take the steady hand perk from the archery tree, which will allow me to zoom in. I thought I was going to need this for the Thalmor embassy, because there was one point in the courtyard where I kept dying over and over again. See, there's a wizard in the courtyard, and he kept messing me up every time. Everything I tried to do, no matter what I did, he just kept killing me. So in the end, I decided I would just have to run past him. Then it was just a case of sneaking through the rest of the embassy, taking out any Thalmor soldiers as stealthily as possible. However, once I found the book on Esbern and the reinforcements turned up, they absolutely demolished me. This is because it was quite hard to sneak when the enemies already know that you're in the room. I think the game programs it so they'll always know you're there. Anyway, after reloading, I was able to sneak shot at least one of them before taking the rest out. Now, while I've been in the Thalmor embassy, I've taken full advantage of the elven armor that the Thalmor soldiers have. I'm definitely going to need that later. So, after finishing the Thalmor embassy, I ran past the troll because I was on like 33 HP and there was no way I was going to beat him. I knew I would have to get to Solitude. Now, without fast travel, this was going to be quite difficult because I was currently made of paper as my health was so low. So, after finding a bed, I was finally able to level up, and I took the 3rd point from the stealth tree, which would give me a 30% bonus to sneaking. Then, after returning to Riverwood, Delphine told me to go and find a man called Esbern, so I had to travel to Whiterun to take a carriage to Riften. Now, when I got into Riften, a dragon actually attacked the city, so I had to take that down before doing anything else. It was pretty easy with all the local guards about, they pretty much just did it for me. And since I was already a member of the Thieves Guild, I was able to just go into the Rat Way through the Thieves Guild and find Esbern. Oh, and I also upgraded my elven armor to a flawless quality before I left Riften. Then it was a case of taking a carriage to Whiterun, using my horse to go to Riverwood, hearing Delphine and Esbern's plan, then using my horse to go back to Whiterun, and use a carriage to go to Markarth. You know, I really miss fast travelling. So you Skyrim veterans will know that every time you approach the Forsworn camp on the way to Skyhaven Temple, a dragon will appear that you have to take down. Well, I think he either glitched or he was attacking someone across the river, because he just kind of sat there while I destroyed him. I also did end up getting killed quite a few times within the Forsworn camp. It's not so bad once you've cleared out all the enemies, because the Forsworn do actually have beds, so I was able to heal that way before entering Skyhaven Temple. And to be totally honest, I just let Delphine and Esbern deal with the majority of the enemies while I stuck to the shadows. Then I solved yet another Dora the Explorer puzzle, discovered Alduin's wall before heading back to Markarth to catch a carriage back to Whiterun. Because the carriages really take it out of you in survival mode, I would have to go into Whiterun to sleep and eat before heading up High Hrothgar. I knew that for the rest of the game I was going to have to climb up the throat of the world quite a lot, and so I decided it would finally be time to take care of the ice troll. The Greybeard shouted at me again for being late and sent me to the headmaster, who turned out to be a giant dragon named Parthenax. So this is where things got a little bit strange in the challenge. You see, as I was heading back down the throat of the world towards High Hrothgar, I decided to warm myself on one of the fires. And this is when I noticed something very strange, something I thought shouldn't be happening. You see, because I'm not using magic, I've been painfully aware that I can't heal in this challenge unless I sleep in a bed. So I was really curious as to why my health was regenerating as the effects of cold were disappearing. Now, I decided I was going to investigate this, as I was 90% sure that this was a glitch, but first of all I decided to go ahead and level up. So in order to investigate this, the first thing I did was let mudcrabs hit me to take some damage. Then I headed to Winterhold and waited until I was completely frozen. I needed to go to the College of Winterhold anyway to investigate the location of an Elder Scroll, so this seemed like the best place to do it. So after heading into the frozen hearth, I noted that my base health was currently at 21. As my character warmed up, my health did actually start to increase. Now I did try this a few times and it didn't happen every time I tried this, so I think it might just be a glitch. It also has no real relevance to the challenge, I just wanted to explore this after I noticed it. Anyway, I talked myself into the College of Winterhold by telling them that I was the Dragonborn, at which point a dragon appeared and started attacking the college. Luckily the mages are pretty overpowered and the dragon wasn't too much of an issue. He didn't really go for me that often anyway. So after paying a quick visit to Crazy Cube Man, I headed off to Alfund, and in an attempt to avoid enemies I jumped down one of the cliffs which actually severely hurt me. Now this was a problem because I wasn't going to be able to heal once I was inside the dungeon. Since I still had a perk point to spend from my previous level up, I decided to put it into Muffled, which would decrease the noise from my armor by 50%. This is because I felt I was going to have to basically stealth my way through this dungeon as my health was already extremely low. This still didn't make things easy as I died several times getting through here. But the basic premise was essentially sneak shots only as they do a lot more damage. Now since I wasn't able to heal, I had very little health for the majority of this dungeon, which meant my vision was also blurry, which made things a lot harder too. However, once I got through all the Thalmor nests, I finally found a bedroll where I was able to sleep and also level up. I took the Assassin's Blade perk, which gives me 15 times damage when stealth attacking with daggers. Then at long last I was able to requisition the scroll and head all the way back to the throat of the world. So before we talk about this next part, please remember that I'm doing survival mode here and therefore fast traveling is not an option for me. I'm also going to go ahead and stick a counter in the top right hand corner of the screen to count how many times I had to do this. So after about a 3-minute cutscene in which you learn the dragon shout Dragon Rend, you have to fight Alduin for the first time. Now after dying several times to Alduin, it became painfully clear to me that I wasn't yet able to fight him. I tried reloading over and over again, but I just kept dying. This all still counts as attempt number 1 because what I had to go through to do this again was an absolute farce. Realising that there was no realistic way I was yet able to defeat Alduin, I had to reload a save from over an hour previous and start cooking some vegetable soup and venison stew in Whiterun, which will give me 1 point health regeneration for 720 seconds. Then I headed to Riverwood where I picked up Fendel and made the 15-minute journey back to High Hrothgar. Now I should say that I don't like using companions for these challenges, but it was only going to be as a last resort. I didn't end up using him, but I thought I better bring him because it took so long to get to High Hrothgar. I didn't want to do this again. So here we go, attempt number 2. We learn the Dragon Rend shout and immediately die due to the cold. Attempt number 3 from reloading, once again immediately die due to the cold. Attempt number 4, yep, you guessed it. After attempt number 4, I decided to stop reloading from the quick save and reload from one of my proper saves, hoping that would fix the problem. Attempt number 5 was just as fruitful, however this time when I died, I actually reloaded at my manual save as opposed to the quick one. So it was about this point I realised I just couldn't keep trying this, something had to change. I did notice that it was around 3 in the morning where I suspected things would be pretty cold. I was hoping that if it was later in the day, let's say 12 o'clock, the weather might be a bit warmer and I might just survive. And you know what? I was right. That's exactly what the problem was. Because I kept trying it in the early hours of the morning, things were just too cold and my character was freezing to death. It turns out you can feel the effects of the cold while you're in the back in time thing. Now, naturally for this challenge, I'm not allowed to use magic, and I wanted to show for this fight because it is so hard that I didn't use magic, so I was able to record it all, and I will show it, but I'll probably have to speed it up quite a bit. See, the thing about the venison stews is they restore 1 point of health per second for 720 seconds. This effectively meant that I was constantly regenerating health. So long as I didn't take too much damage, I was actually able to get through this because my archery skill was pretty decent by this point. So you can see just how close I came to dying here before the end of this fight. I scrambled to get some food quickly to restore a few points of HP and finally was able to take down Alduin. So after jumping back and forward across Skyrim and talking to Ulfric Stormcloak and General Tullius, I was able to broker some kind of peace treaty between the two sides while we deal with the dragons. So Skulldofn was a nightmare on ice skates. It became apparently clear I was not going to be able to take out the dragons in the sky, nor the Draugrs on the land, because I was getting hit by too much. I basically just had to run past everything that was outside. Due to my reasonably good stealth proficiency, I was actually able to take down all the enemies without being detected, so the inside of Skulldofn was pretty easy. The hard part was that lich thing outside the portal to Sovngarde. That was a nightmare. In the end, my plan to actually take him down was to sneak shot and then hide around the corner until he stopped looking for me, and then pop out and shoot him with another arrow, rinse and repeat until he died. Now this whole process from start to finish took probably about 7 to 10 minutes before I actually killed him and was finally able to enter Sovngarde. So while you're in Sovngarde, the effects of survival mode are completely taken away. I think it's because you're in heaven or something, but basically, yeah, we don't feel the effects of cold or hunger or anything like that anymore. All you have to do now is kill Alduin, and kill Alduin we shall. So before you get to meet the heroes of Sovngarde, you first have to battle Sun. Now he absolutely destroyed me in close combat. Luckily though, I was able to stealth shot him with a bow through the mist. And at long last, it was time for the final Alduin fight. You do have 3 companions with you, the heroes of Sovngarde. I don't normally like to use companions, but they are with you for this, so there's nothing you can do about it. And yeah, they pretty much did most of the damage to Alduin. I did shoot him from a distance with a bow, but he didn't really hurt me that much. So there you have it. Can you beat Skyrim survival mode without using magic? Yes, you can. It is very difficult to do though, but I had a lot of fun doing this challenge. I am going to be doing more challenges like this. I think I've only done like 3 or 4 so far, but they seem to be doing very well, although they do take a while to make, so I can't promise a video every single week, but at least 2 a month if possible. I will try my best to get more out, and I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe and all that good stuff. Leave any comments if you do have any, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.